Welcome to the Life Coach Lounge. I'm Angela.
I'm Lisa.
I'm Emily. We're three life coaches who found connection in faith, friendship, and purpose.
Get ready for real talk, relatable stories, and practical tips you can actually use.
We're so happy you're here at the Life Coach Lounge.
Hello, girls. How are we doing today?
Hello.
Welcome
Good.
to
Hello,
the lounge.
everyone.
Welcome to the lounge, everybody. Come on in, grab a coffee, whatever you need. We have a great topic today. We're so excited to chat about. But first, let's ask some questions. My first question, girls, for you is so curious to know your answers here. What is the most middle-aged thing you've done this week?
Walk into a room and not remember why you walked into the room. I feel like that's a reoccurring one for me.
It's a good one. Yes.
Yeah.
I'd say for me, feeling like I wanted to go to bed at 8:30 at night and looking at the clock and just wishing it was later. Not that I can't go to bed earlier, but it feels wrong for some reason. But I have been just ready for bed really early. And I'm not getting up super early. So I think that's a middle-aged thing. Do you both struggle with that? Like feeling like it's bedtime before 9 o'clock, and that sounds amazing?
I definitely feel that way. My daughter was home this past weekend. And of course, at 19 and a half, she's a night owl. And so I want to spend as much time with her as possible. And I don't remember what night it was, but it was like 10:30 maybe. It might have even been later. And she's like, Mom, let's watch Wicked. I'm like, yes, let's watch Wicked and sing and do all the things. I can do it. I did give up just before 1, but yeah.
Good for you. My word. Yeah.
I suffer the next day though. So that also probably is a telltale sign of middle age.
Oh, so relatable. Kylie was here with her boyfriend as well, and he was visiting just for a few days. And same sort of situation. They asked if we wanted to watch a movie with them at like 9:15, as I'm thinking bed sounds amazing. And of course you say yes, because he's only here for a few days and she just got back from being gone for months. Yeah, why? How do you hold both, being available for them and getting the amount of sleep that we need?
Yeah, I think I value sleep too much because I'm like, no, mama needs sleep. I'm going to bed. Not happening.
So how about you, Angela? What's the most middle-aged thing you've done this week?
Okay, I resonate with both of the things you guys said, but I did something today that my grandma used to do. I saved a baggie. Is that like a middle-aged thing? Like I was like, this baggie is still good. Like I didn't like wash it out and dry it. It only had like dry stuff in it. But I was like, baggie's still good. I'm saving it, man. So, I don't know. Is that middle-aged or I don't know. My grandma saved baggies and tinfoil. So I don't know if that counts as middle-aged or just like cheapskate. I don't know.
Maybe both. My mom did that too.
Yeah. So those are great ones, you guys. The other question I had for you, and I love this one, describe your middle school fashion disaster. And when I was thinking about that, I was like, did you guys call it junior high or middle school? Like we called it junior high back in the day.
We called it middle
high.
school.
Okay.
When I went into sixth grade, I come from a very, very small town, and our school merged with two other small town schools because their schools were closing, just the small towns and not being able to support individual schools. So we became three schools in one. And so when I was going into middle school, which was sixth grade, that was the first year at the school in the other town with the combined grades. So I think that's the main reason I think of it as middle school, because our actual middle school, sixth, seventh, eighth grade, was in a neighboring town when we all combined. How about you, Lisa? Did you call it middle school or junior high?
Junior high.
Yeah, we called it junior high. And when I was in school, elementary school went through sixth grade, and then junior high was seventh and eighth. But then when my kids went to school, they called it middle school, not junior high. And it was sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. But anyways, I was thinking back to the 80s, thinking about my fashion disasters. Well, of course, bangs had the biggest bangs ever. And then I totally forgot this, but in junior high, I remember crop tops were in. And I was just thinking, oh my gosh, like those came back. Like the shorter t-shirts or whatever. Like, why? Right? That's like, no, don't do that. But I totally forgot that it was like a thing when I was in junior high. So, and then the whole neon phase, like the 80s neon colors were big when I was in junior high too. So, anyways, how about you, Lisa?
I would say another thing that has come back, but I will never wear again, acid wash jeans. I am not acid wash jean fan. And giant shoulder pads, like the shoulder pads that just like,
I think those
I
are
don't
coming
know.
back too.
I know, I saw them. I'm like, oh my gosh, you look like you could like stack books on your shoulder and they would, yeah. No, thank you. Leg warmers. Loved my leg
Oh, I
warmers. I
had
don't
those.
consider
Yeah.
those a disaster. Those were like, I loved my leg warmers.
How about the leggings with like the stirrup on the bottom, like that went around the bottom of your
Oh,
foot? Do you guys remember those?
I do.
And then with my long, lanky legs, you'd sit down for a while and you'd stand up and there'd be an imprint where my knee was. Like, what a terrible, terrible piece of clothing. I
Yep.
don't think those have come back to my knowledge,
oh,
but
oh gosh,
you
I hope
never
not.
know. No, I had an embarrassing moment when you asked that, Angela, that we had hat day and everybody else showed up in, cute caps or like that's just what people wore, like baseball caps. And I had this really cute, what I thought, and that must have been sixth grade, like a white brimmed hat that you would wear like on Easter morning, like the wide brim, you kind of have it back, kind of like Bo Peep, right? Like a Bo Peep kind of hat. And I thought it was the cutest thing. Showed up at school and realized everybody else was wearing a different kind of hat. But I owned it. I just wore it all day. And then the kicker is they were taking a picture of it must have been like spelling bee winners or something. And I was called to the library to get my picture taken. So not only did I wear the hat that looked different than everybody else's, but it also showed up in the newspaper for something that I was taken, my photo was taken for. So thank you for that, Angela. I might have you coach me on that later with all the embarrassing feelings that are coming up with that memory.
I love it. That's a good one. Okay, girls, let's get to our topic today. Today, we're talking about your life sentence and my life sentence. And I know we brought this up between the three of us before, and I'm anxious to share about this because it is something that has really impacted my life. So, when this was probably 15 ish years ago, my husband and I were seeing a marriage therapist slash pastor, and he taught us the concept of a life sentence. And a life sentence is basically a lie that you come into agreement with in your childhood that becomes a stronghold in your life. It's not a conscious thought. It's more subconscious, and it's kind of like the B-roll that's always running in the background and affecting every decision that you make. So when he was sharing that with us, my husband immediately knew what his life sentence was. He knew right away. He said, okay, he said, when I was in high school, I played football, and my thought was, I'm good enough to start, but I'm not good enough to star. Then, as he matured and became a business owner, his life sentence kind of changed flavors, I guess you would say, and it evolved with him, and it became, I'm a jack of all trades, but a master of none. And so that really influenced him. He knew right away when this therapist told us about the concept of life sentence. He knew immediately what it was. Now, for me, and I think probably for most people, it takes some self-awareness. It takes some digging to get to it. You might know, like, oh, it's kind of in this, I think it has to do with this, but I don't know the sentence. So how does that land for you girls? How about you, Emily?
So I hadn't heard of this concept until you shared it with me recently. And I can see how it's that subconscious, that lie that just took root a long time ago. And I would say I'm really impressed actually that your husband was able to just say his right away. I wish that I could just pin mine down. I do feel like I'm getting closer to like what the actual sentence is, but for me, I feel like as you've helped me work through it, it's a lot about like a lack of confidence, like being afraid to make decisions because I might be wrong, telling myself like, don't mess it up again. Like you don't know what you're doing, just like that lack of confidence. And then as I've really sat with a little bit more, it's brought up, I think, the idea that I wanted to avoid the tough emotions like embarrassment and failure. So super funny that you asked about the middle school mishap because talk about embarrassing wearing an Easter hat on the day when everybody else is wearing baseball caps. But as a child, you go through those embarrassing moments and they shape how you show up next time because it all cost you want to avoid feeling that way. And now as an adult, I am learning how to process emotions, including things like embarrassment and failure, or redefining failure even, and not even calling it failure. So I am definitely still in the thick of it, still teasing it out, still really digging deep to identify what that actual sentence is. But I think that it has opened me up so much more to understanding myself, giving myself grace and compassion for where I've been, and deciding on purpose. How do I want to take that information and move forward? And that's what we do as coaches. We help other people do that. And so, of course, I want to be doing that for myself as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, that's so good. When I was thinking about the biblical context of this therapist had called it a life sentence, which sounds so dramatic, but I think it does resonate though, because when I took in the biblical context of it, I think it's a stronghold. It's something that keeps you imprisoned in your thinking. Like you see everything through this lens of this lie, basically. So I looked up in Webster's 1828 dictionary the word stronghold, and it says it's described as a fortified place. So basically, a maximum security prison, a life sentence, so to speak. It really, makes sense. It all adds up. So I actually have a story that goes with my life sentence. I know when my life sentence came into my life. When I was growing up, we lived outside of the city. We lived on a country road, and I had to ride the bus to school. So the bus would do its bus route in the morning, and we were the last stop to be picked up before we drove to school. And we were about 20 minutes outside of town. So I would get on the bus. There were probably 4 or 5 other kids that got on at the same bus stop as myself. And the bus was full. I mean, the bus was already full, and the kids who got on with me had friends that saved seats for them. So they would just go to the seat with their friend and sit down. And my memory is that I would go down the aisle and ask if I could sit with someone. Now, in hindsight, of course, they're going to say no because 2 kids barely fit on one seat anyways. And I'm asking them to squish as far over as they can and fit a third one in, right? So, I mean, my adult brain, of course, it makes sense. But at the time, I'm like, can I sit with you? Can I sit with you? And I just kept hearing no, 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 no. So what I would do, the bus driver would get frustrated and say, like, you have to sit down so I can drive. So I would just kind of like squat in the aisle and hang on for dear life. And like, literally, I remember my legs were just burning the whole way to school. What I came to believe in that moment was no one likes me, that they wouldn't let me sit with them because they didn't like me. And no one likes me became the undercurrent of my life. Every time I didn't get invited somewhere, or, every time we would go somewhere and then I would leave, I was always second guessing. Like, did I say something dumb? Did I fit in? Did I wear the right thing? Like, always second guessing. And I think no one likes me, the sentence, no one likes me, caused me to be very insecure. And insecurity then led to loneliness. And so I felt lonely a lot I would say like through high school and even well into my marriage. So just found it hard to fit in. And as I look back, I'm like, it was me. I was the one not going. I was the one creating my own loneliness because I thought no one liked me. So I was afraid to put myself out there. So I'm curious, Lisa, if there's anything that you can think of from your childhood that might have contributed to a lie that you came into agreement with, or possibly even a life sentence.
Yes. So much like Emily, I had not heard about a life sentence either until you asked both of us, and kind of we had multiple conversations around this topic. And again, as Emily said, I am a little jealous that your husband was like, hey, let me just unfold this for you. Here it is. And so, because I knew this was our topic for the day, I actually brought my journal notes with me because I'm still trying to, I think I have the concept down, like what the broader feeling is. I'm not sure if I have the actual sentence per se, but definitely I can think back to even as young as between 3 and 5, and just having things happen in my life that were not great, and things that I never shared with others until I was a full-on adult with my own children. And you kind of have your own revelations when you become a parent. So I have thought a lot about things that let me just share a couple of things that I've kind of written down in my journal. Some possible core beliefs that I am continuing to hold on to is my voice doesn't matter. Keeping quiet when bothered by something is what was expected. Believing that speaking up wouldn't make a difference anyway, and that it was okay not to, and perhaps you shouldn't express any hardships that you were experiencing. And so the more I try to unravel this life sentence, the feeling that comes up a lot is worthiness, like my own worthiness, not just self-worth, but a combination of self-worth and validation. Because of course, if you want to have your voice heard, you feel like you want to be validated, like you want to make sure that it's reciprocal, like you're sharing and someone is hearing and listening to you. So it's been hard. It's been hard. This has been like probably one of the harder things I do. And I have to do it in pieces. I don't know about Emily, but I can only take so much thought processing, if you will, and doing some just sitting with belief and asking myself questions. Because I think what also has latched on to the sentence, which I still don't know yet, is it feels paralyzing, which of course it does, because as you just read from the dictionary, what a stronghold is, like, of course, our life sentence is going to feel paralyzing in some way. It's going to paralyze us from doing the things. So, yeah, this has definitely been a very, that's the only word that keeps coming out. It's not easy.
Well, and part of why it's hard is because you believe it's true. Like
Mhm.
you're trying to find a lie that you believe with your whole heart is the truth. So that makes it really hard to find it.
Mhm. I think it's also hard because the more we talk about this and the more I have this conversation with others, I do think you're absolutely right. It does stem from your childhood, most likely. And depending on what that is, that too has been hard because it's parts of my childhood that are not the easiest parts to want to, you know, be an archi- what do you call it, an archaeologist and start like, oh, let's dig all this up. Well, no, I kind of like it stuffed in the back of the closet and with a dresser in front of it and call it a day. So that piece has also been hard.
It is hard. And there's so much value in discovering it because what happens when we discover our life sentence or even the framework of a life sentence, even if we don't know the one sentence specifically, we can start to apply truth to it. We can start to, and that is where the freedom from the stronghold, freedom from the prison, freedom from the life sentence comes in, is applying the truth. And so for me, really understanding God's love for me and believing that I am loved is the thought and provides the freedom I need to break the lie. Now, is it like, wow, I'm free. I never have to deal with this again? For me, no. I have dipped my toe still into this pond. The thing is, though, that now I'm aware. I'm aware of what's happening. As soon as I feel that insecurity, as soon as I feel like Jim calls it turtling in, as soon as I feel myself like, oh, like I don't want to go there. And then I start to feel the loneliness. It's like, what is happening here? Oh, yeah. Okay. I see it. I'm not going because I'm feeling insecure or whatever. So just breaking that with the truth. God loves me. I love me. I'm comfortable in that. It's okay. Not everybody is going to like me, and I'm okay with that because I'm still loved. That is really where the freedom comes in. So, Emily, what do you think would be the counterpart to your life sentence?
So I also brought my journal, Lisa. You're not the only one. And I actually
Yay!
date my journal entries. And I see that we have been talking about this. Well, we first started talking about this, I think, 3 months ago.
Wow.
And I would agree with you, Lisa. It's a process. This isn't a one and done, journal this out and you're good to go. And now you know the new direction you're headed. This has truly been a deep dive into some uncomfortable territory and also necessary for me to be able to break free from it. And Angela, as you were talking about the stronghold again, I kept thinking about like being locked in a cage, but then discovering you actually have the keys to let yourself out.
Wow.
So that's what I'm thinking about. Why would I want to stay in this cage? I have the keys, and now how do I fit the key into the lock to let myself out, right?
Mhm.
And that's where, like you said, God's truth comes in because a lie is going to deceive you through and through. And another thing I thought about when you were just talking was I think the reason that this is so challenging and takes so much time is because this has shaped who we are up until this point, right? And so we've lived a lot of life. We've lived a lot of life having that play in the background. So it really has sort of become part of who I am, how I show up. Maybe not necessarily the best parts of how I show up or a way that I show up that I see I don't like, but I'm not quite sure how to change it, right? You can't just power through that and be like, oh, I'm just show up this way differently today. Like there's a process. So I think that's why it's hard too, because it has become part of who we are. But we can change that. We can become more of our true self, right? We talk about true self and false self in coaching, which I'm not sure if we've mentioned that on other podcasts or not. We should maybe do a false self, true self episode if we haven't already. So your question was, what would the truth be for me to counteract the lies that I've been believing? And what I had journaled a while ago, I haven't been back to revisit this yet.
I'm just going to point out, Emily, see how journaling doesn't have to be like, Dear Diary, on this day. It can be messy and you have to go look for the stuff.
It's very messy, and that's okay, right?
Yes.
And it shows I still have work to do in that area of, yeah, what is the counter truth to the lie, right? One of the things that I discovered for myself is I get stuck in indecision. So I don't trust myself to make quote unquote the right decision. And I think it's going to be the wrong decision. So, like that lack of trust in my ability to make a good decision moving forward. And I think one of you has coached me on this before, that I can trust the Holy Spirit inside of me to help me make decisions. And it doesn't mean things are going to work out perfectly. And it might mean that something gets messy, but that doesn't mean it was the wrong decision. It just means that's the next step forward to this journey that God has me on. So just that even brings me peace to say that I can trust the Holy Spirit inside of me to guide me. It's actually not all up to me. I'm putting too much pressure on myself if I wrongfully think I need to make the right decision and I can't mess it up. Well, if I believe the Holy Spirit is living inside of me, then actually I can't mess it up. And life's still going to be messy. That doesn't mean it's bad or wrong. So I'm still a work in progress, but that's been helpful for me.
I love it. That's so good.
I love that you said, can I just add something here, Angela?
Of course.
I would love for us in the Marcos, Emily, to compare our notes because they sound like we have hit on some similarities. So for me, I wrote down that the belief that God intends for us or me to live fully and purposefully collides with my internal messaging because I truly do believe that I am here to help and serve others and be, a disciple out there doing all the things. And yet, when this self deprecation comes up, then I feel like I have this internal critic that's constantly undermining and keeping me from stepping and moving forward fully into that purpose and calling. It's just like, so like I have in my journal like this like all these lines, like when you take your pen and you're like it's just like serious conflict of I believe this and yet somehow I also believe this, and these two things are like oil and water. They're not going to, you're not going to move forward easily, clearly, if this is what keeps coming up in my head. So again,
So good.
such good work.
Well, and we've talked about this how many times now, but the power of journaling. Journaling is where that awareness is going to come up, because as you're writing it down, you can look back and go, whoa, where did that come from? Is that really how I think about myself and what I believe about myself? And that's where journaling is so helpful to raise your awareness and to see your thoughts come out of your head and see them in writing. So I love that you girls brought your journals today. That is so amazing. So yeah, just to kind of help people walk through this, I would say definitely awareness is number one. You will have this undercurrent in you. If you can describe it as a B-roll or an undercurrent where you always have this one thing that just makes you feel stuck, keeps coming up. Like with our coaching clients, the thing you keep coming back to, it's probably linked to the life sentence or that core belief. And then once you become aware of it, I do think for most people, there is a core memory tied to it. I think that there is a story that, usually from childhood, where that came into you. And then truth speaks louder than lies always. So applying God's truth. What does God say about me? And then doing the work of shifting the thinking. And it's not going to be overnight. It's not, oh, that thought's gone. Apply the new one and go on with life. It is going to be taking those old thoughts captive every time they come up, especially because, hello, like you said, I've been doing this for how many years? Like, however old I was when I was riding the school bus. So I don't know, 40, 45 years of this being the undercurrent of my life. It's not going to be an overnight fix for sure. So then once you start believing the truth, it is going to also influence the decisions you make and the results that you get in your life and your influence and impact on the world. Of course, our enemy wants to hold us back from that, right? So is there anything else you guys want to add before we sign off today?
I think what struck me when you were just talking there, Angela, was that we all are all a work in progress. And it's never too late to discover some of these things. And for me, I need to make sure I'm not shaming or blaming myself for not becoming aware of this sooner, right? So I think just once the awareness comes to be, just let it be awareness.
Yep.
Just let it be awareness with so much compassion that I've done the best I could do with what I had up until this point. And now I'm learning all of these amazing tools and joining forces with amazing coaches like both of you to support me in this work of I want to enjoy more of life. Like Lisa said, and you also hit on it, Angela, I feel like there's a calling that God has for me to help others to show up in the way He wants me to show up. And that requires facing the discomfort of my past and deciding on purpose, what do I want it to be? What do I want it to look like moving forward?
Yeah,
I
love
also
that.
think it's important to remember, not just in this scenario, but in so many topics of our conversations, to be very conscientious of labeling yourself something from your past because something happened, because you did something, you said something, something happened to you. Yes, it is a part of your story. It is a part of your history. It is a part of what makes you you. It also doesn't have to define who you are. It's in very simple terms, like you are not your job. You are so much more than that. And I know personally for years, that is how I defined myself, by what I did, not who I was. So I think it's important, especially if people are going to take a close look at what their life sentence might be, just to again have that compassion for yourself. You don't put labels on yourself. Be very compassionate and give yourself that grace.
Yeah. We like to say curious and compassionate, right? Be curious with what it is and be compassionate while you're looking for it and when you find it. I love this quote. I want to say this. Freedom is not just the absence of pain, it's the presence of purpose. And I think once you have that freedom, it does shift that. It shifts how you show up. So thank you, girls. Such good discussion. And yes, digging into our past can bring up emotions, good and bad sometimes. So I'm so proud of you for doing the work and looking backwards, but looking backwards with that curiosity and wanting to move forward with new energy, new life, no life sentence, truth, moving into your future with truth. I think that is what we're all striving for, right? So thank you everyone for joining us in the Life Coach Lounge today. If something resonated with you, we'd be honored if you hit that subscribe button and shared this episode with someone who might need to hear it too. You can connect with us on Instagram at Life Coach Lounge, where we continue supporting each other between episodes, and you can find our personal information in the show notes. Until next time, we're grateful to walk alongside you, and we will see you next time in the lounge, and I will see you ladies in the Marcos.